lost their job out of no fault of their own. They worked with the company, they worked with the union, they tried to keep their jobs and tried to keep it going. So they've lost their jobs. And so what they need now is a little help while they are trying to look for other jobs. And you are right. It is an economic boost. It's estimated that it would bring $20 million to the economy of West Virginia, but Congresswoman Capito has blocked that. I mean, we have 16,000 West Virginians who could use the unemployment extended insurance while they are looking for jobs. And then comes the next step. Well, let's help create jobs. Let's create good paying jobs. And we certainly have all the possibilities to do that with our energy resources that we have, and the research and the technology and our manufacturing know-how. And that's why I'm running to help support and put the high-tech manufacturing that we have in our community and technical colleges to work.
Congresswoman Capito?
Well, when I think about unemployed workers, I think about the over 7,000 coal miners who are out of a job. I think about the rail workers. I think about the shop workers. I think about the electrician, the tire manufacturer. This is directly attributable. Every single mining job that's lost is attributable to the policies of President Obama, Harry Reid, who are supporting my opponent's election. She may say the president's not on the ballot, but guess what the president said the other day? He said point blank, every single one of my policies is on the ballot. So who is his representative on the ballot? The secretary. And I believe that West Virginians that are out of work know that, and they're going to vote like that in November.
Congresswoman Capito, you in your career supported raising the minimum wage at times. President Obama, in his State of the Union address earlier this year, called for a higher minimum wage, and you said in response, I believe Congress should debate whether the minimum wage should be raised again. In 2013, you joined fellow Republicans in voting against Congressman Miller's proposal to raise the minimum wage to $10.10. Do you support or oppose raising the minimum wage to $10.10?
I'm not sure that vote, I'll have to check on that, because I don't think we've had a direct vote on raising the minimum wage. I did vote in 2007 to raise the minimum wage. I believe in a healthy minimum wage, absolutely. It's not meant to be a wage to raise your families and create a life for a family, but I believe that we need to look at the ramifications of raising the minimum wage. The state of West Virginia just took it upon themselves to do a three-part, I think it's the three-part gradual raising of the minimum wage. I believe to over 875, maybe 875, and I think that's a good start. I think that studies show that if you raise the minimum wage, you could cost as many as 500,000 jobs. I don't think we're in an economy where we can cost ourselves 500,000 jobs. I did say that I believe we should debate this on the House floor, and I think I would look favorably upon raising the minimum wage.
Secretary Tennant, your response.
Well, Hoppy, up on the farm, we are always taught that actions speak louder than words. And you're going to see a lot of this tonight from Congresswoman Capito saying something here, but her votes have said something different in Washington. And right here, she says it, in this vote for minimum wage, I will vote for an increase in minimum wage to $10.10 an hour, because West Virginians deserve that. She wants to give bonuses to our taxpayer dollars, to bonuses to CEOs on Wall Street. I want to give minimum wage increases to our working families, because you can't survive on $15,000 a year. That's how much you make right now if you're working a 40-hour work week, and that is not right for West Virginians who work so hard. And you know, Congresswoman says, yes, we should have a debate. Well, certainly we should have a debate. Oh, what's Congress doing right now? They are sitting at their another vacation. Congress is on a 6-week vacation. For what? To campaign? I don't know, but they just came off another 5-week vacation earlier this summer. So certainly we deserve a debate. We deserve Congress to get to work and debate this for the people of this country.
Let's move on to foreign policy and defense. Secretary Tennant, President Obama has ordered U.S. military campaign against the Islamic State that includes bombing targets in Iraq and Syria and arming the Free Syrian Army in order to degrade and destroy ISIS. You said in an interview with me, I'm not for boots on the ground. If the threat becomes greater, which is very possible, and you're in the Senate, you may be called upon to vote whether to send young West Virginians into battle. Can you define as accurately as possible your line in the sand at which point you would support sending troops from West Virginia across the country into harm's way?
Hoppy, I have said that I do support whatever efforts it takes to keep America safe by using the fewest number of Americans, by putting the fewest number of Americans in harm. But I'm not ready to put boots on the ground because I don't believe we have exhausted all of our resources and all of our options, rather, not our resources, but all of our options in this. And, you know, as a wife who has sent a husband to war, I know that when we talk about boots on the ground, our national security, the bedrock to our national security is the men and women who serve in uniform. And so, you know, we can have all the technology in the world that we want, but our men and women in uniform are the basis for our national security. And, you know, I would like to mention tonight that we've already had our first fatality in this war on ISIS with Corporal Jordan Spears, who we lost when his aircraft lost power. So that is a tragic reminder that airstrikes or boots on the ground, it's still our men and women in uniform that we must be standing up and debating. Because you're right, you're asking me for a definite line in the sand. Well, that's not an easy answer, and that's why there should be a debate taking place in Congress for the American people to be able to hear all of the information. And once I hear all that information, I'll be able to make that definite line in the sand answer.
Congresswoman Capito, your response.
Well, I mean, the visual of ISIS beheading 2 Americans and now threatening to behead another, and British journalists and aid workers is just jarring to all of us. And I think that because of the president's really weak policies in Iraq, we find ourselves in a position where this terrorist group has been fomenting and without raising money and raising membership. And I find it frightening in terms of what could happen on our homeland, and I think that has to be what you think about. I think the Secretary is right. There's nothing more valuable for us as Americans than our servicemen and women, and I appreciate her husband's service to our country. And so I take these decisions very seriously. I did vote to arm to have the president train the Syrian rebels, because I feel like we need a coalition of people that are go in and basically stop this terrorist group from further growth.
Let's move on to health care and the Affordable Care Act. Congresswoman Capito, the House has voted over 4 dozen times to revamp, repeal, or tweak that law. I counted at least 5 times you voted with the Republican majority in the House for outright repeal. Today, because of ACA, there are about 140,000 additional West Virginians who have health care through Medicaid. Another 20,000 have insurance through the exchange. Would you vote again today to repeal ACA, which would mean those 160,000 West Virginians would lose their insurance?
What I would vote for is to repeal and replace. I voted for that 50 times, but I also recognize that the ACA has some very good things about it. First of all, making sure people don't get cut off their insurance for a pre-existing condition. Absolutely for that. Was for that before the president decided to take it in a larger and much more detrimental direction. I believe keeping our students on until they're 26. I think that's a good thing. So there are good things. So we need to keep what's good, replace it with what will work. Get rid of a business mandate. Make sure that our businesses are not having a 30% increase in their premiums, which we're seeing. 7,000 West Virginians have lost their health care plan because, remember, the president, who I'll remind you, my opponent supported and supports his policies and his health care policy, said, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it, period. Well, that didn't work out so well. So, you know, it was sold as a bill of goods, basically. We're hearing people who are losing their physicians, whose deductibles have gone up into the thousands of dollars. It's unaffordable. And so were there things wrong? Yes, with the healthcare system. I wish we'd worked together. I wish we'd worked in a bipartisan way to find a way to keep folks who are on insurance now, the 140,000 Medicaid. We want to keep them insured because that's important to us, not just to them, but it's important to us as a state.
Secretary Tennant, your response?
Well, there she goes again. I wish that she says one thing and votes another way. She says she's for all of these things in the ACA, but yet she has voted to repeal it. Hoppy, I won't vote to repeal it. because I know what it's like to go without health care. My daughter Delaney had open heart surgery when she was a week old, and many folks across West Virginia prayed for her, and those prayers were answered because that surgery saved her life. She's a healthy, happy 12-year-old right now. But when my husband and I started our small business, we wanted to buy insurance. So he called, and I can remember the day I came home, and he said, "Natalie, I talked to the insurance companies trying to get insurance for us and the business and the family." And he said they would cover me and you, but they wouldn't cover Delaney because of her pre-existing condition. I was devastated because I thought, what parent takes something that their child can't have? So I will never go back to the days when insurance companies can deny insurance for someone with a pre-existing condition. For Congresswoman Capito to sit here and say that she's for that too, but she's voted to take that away.
Thank you. Social Security. We know the problems that Social Security faces, Secretary Tennant. And in an interview with the Dominion Post, you said you favor raising the cap, currently $1,117, on income taxable for Social Security to make the program solvent. A 2014 CBO report said if you raised the payroll cap to $240,000, it would help, but you still wouldn't eliminate the actuarial imbalance. So that's an enormous tax increase. So do you support more than doubling the cap on the taxable income? And if not, what specific measures do you support to try to make Social Security solvent again?
Hoppy, I am supportive of raising the cap to $240,000, not quite that far yet, and we'll work on a number. Another way that we can keep Social Security solvent is quite simply raise minimum wage, because if you have more people getting paid, they're going to pay into Social Security more. But I will tell you this right now, and I'll look at the people of West Virginia and I'll look into your eyes, and here, this is what I'll tell you that I won't do for Social Security. I will not privatize your Social Security. I won't take your Social Security and put it in the hands of those on Wall Street so they could gamble it away. That's not very secure. And imagine what would have happened had that been done, like Congresswoman Capito wanted to do before the financial crisis. Now, she will sit here and tell you that she has never wanted to privatize Social Security and that she doesn't want to do it now. But most recently, as 2011, Congresswoman Capito voted to keep the option on the table for privatizing Social Security. Remember what I learned on the farm? Actions speak louder than words. Well, votes speak louder than words too. And her votes indicate that she would take Social Security and she would privatize it and hurt the security for our seniors in West Virginia. I will protect it and I will help to strengthen it.
Congresswoman Capito, your response.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think this is just an attack to scare seniors in terms of Social Security. I've been in office for 14 years. I have opposed privatizing Social Security on down the line. Congressman Hoyer, a leader in the Democrat Party, when he wrote to President Bush in 2004, he said Republicans are against privatizing, like Congresswoman Shelley Moore Capito. So that's the plain truth on the privatization. I do believe we should bust the cap on the Social Security taxes, and I'd be willing to take it up over the 200,000 number that Hoppy mentioned. We've got to find solution here. So if we don't, I have younger children. Secretary has a younger child. There's going to be no Social Security for those. We have got to lay down the arms here, work together as Republicans and Democrats, and solve a difficult problem, because in 2037, Social Security is going bust. And for those workers now that are working towards that in their future, it's going to be a difficult future if we don't have the promises made. Are the promises kept? And I'll keep the promise of Social Security.
Let me segue into Medicare. Congresswoman Capito, earlier this year, the Republican-controlled House passed the Paul Ryan budget. You voted for that budget. That plan had a number of reforms to entitlement spending. The Wall Street Journal reported Mr. Ryan also called for overhauling Medicare to allow Americans who turned 65 on or after January 1st, 2014 to choose between private insurance plans with government-supported premiums or staying on traditional Medicare, though their costs could rise. So do you support, through that budget, at least a partial privatization of Medicare?
What I support is reforming Medicare and keeping Medicare for not just the generation that's on Medicare right now, but for future generations. Many of you know I've been facing this in my own family in terms of trying to help senior care with my parents. And I believe that